Hey everybody, this is Geo Joe here today with a demo tutorial video on the VMS v20 advanced software. For today's video, I would like to focus on how you can add an input-output box into your system and then set up a facial recognition scenario to where you trigger a relay on that input-output box. Give you a good example. If you are a retail store and you want to be notified in real time if a person of interest, such as a previous shoplifter, enters into your store, and maybe trigger a siren or a strobe light or those kinds of things, whenever that event occurs, this is a great video for you. There's a few steps that we're going to go through in this video today, so buckle up, pause the video if you need to, go back and rewatch it, but you'll see all the steps of how you can set this scenario up. So when we are in the VMS software, one of the first things that we will want to do for this would be to get our I/O device set up. And when you're in the live view screen, over on the left side on our content list, you'll now see that there is a I/O device section. If we expand that, you'll see a gear icon. We can go ahead and hit configure, and you'll want to go to I/O device setup. This is where you can add the I/O box into the system. Now, right here, this is where you would have the ability to add your I/O box in. We already have our I/O box added on this machine, but if you'd like to add a new one, you can hit the add button, and you'll notice that there's 4 options here. GeoVision sells 2 types of I/O boxes. One connects to the system via a USB port, and then we also have an IP-based I/O box, which allows you to just plug that I/O box into the network. It gets its own IP address, and then you can assign it into the VMS, similar to how you would add a camera into the VMS. This is a convenient option if you want to locate the I/O box somewhere far away from where the VMS machine physically resides. You can also add in an IP device as an I/O type of device. A lot of GeoVision cameras have a relay output on them. You could set those up in here and trigger things to happen as well. For today's video, I would like to look at the option for adding a I/O box that's IP based. So I would click on that. What'll happen is it'll first come up here and it'll search your network and scan. And if it does find the I/O box on the network, it's going to go ahead and list it here. And then you can just click on it and you can add it over to the list. Now, since our I/O box has already been added on this machine, it's not going to come up in the scan. But again, you'd see it right here. You'd simply click on it and then hit the arrow to add it over and hit OK. Alternatively, you could manually add the I/O box via its IP address. So right here, you can click Add. You can type in the IP address and then the username and password of the I/O box, hit OK. It'll connect. You can add it over and then hit OK. So once you've done that, just make sure that here, like over here on the other side, your enable buttons are ticked for the inputs and outputs. So you will want to enable those and then hit OK. And once you do that, it should give you your I/O box over here on the left with your inputs and your outputs listed out. Now, the next step that we want to start to think about is enabling the facial recognition databases and building out users who are going to trigger that I/O box. So with that being said, you will want to take a look at the web page of your GeoVision IP camera, and you'll want to enable the face recognition portion of it. So if you log into the web page of the camera, you'll come up here to the right and hit config. And then you'll want to come into the config home event tab. Now, this can be found under events. If you just simply click on events, it's going to bring you to this screen right here. And you can hit enable event. A lot of GeoVision cameras by default are set up for these smart events. These are things like intrusion zones, video metadata, people and vehicle counting, those types of analytics. But for today's scenario, we're more interested in facial recognition. So we would want to convert this camera over to a face detection event. Click on that and hit save. And then it's going to set it up to where you can use it in the VMS for facial recognition. Once you do that, you can return to the VMS software, and we're going to start to create facial recognition activity and get this camera set up for facial rec. So what you can do is in the top right-hand corner, you hit toolbar, and then you go to configure. It's the gear icon, and then you go down to video process. Once you pull this window here, there's a drop down and you select IPCVA. This is video analysis by camera. You're going to enable the camera side analytics and then tell the software to do things with those analytics. Once you click on that, you'll want to make sure that you check on the cameras that you want to do facial recognition with. This can be one or more cameras. Just select however many you want to use. And of course, make sure for each of the cameras that you check, you logged into the web page and you enabled that face detection analytic that I previously showed. Once you have ticked on the cameras that you're interested in setting this up for, you then hit the setting button right here. When setting comes up, you'll see this window and you've got a drop down that has all the cameras that you ticked on the previous window. What you'll do is you'll first click on the camera that you're interested in enabling the facial recognition for. And then right here, you can see face detection. You'll want to make sure that you click the tick box next to that. And the first thing that we'll do here is right under AI Cam settings, hit setting. When this window comes up, click the drop-down menu and click face detection. And then enable this little tick box right here that says enable face detection. Now, on this screen, by default, it's going to be set to full screen. This means that basically any area of the camera's field of view that sees a face, it's going to then detect and start to register that face. Alternatively, you can click on specified area, and then you have the ability to draw a zone that you want the facial recognition to happen in. You can also dial up your snapshot sensitivity if you want to make it, more sensitive to recognizing faces. So play around with this and see what results that you get. But when you're done with this section here, hit save on the bottom left. You'll get a message that says successful, and then you'll hit OK right here, and it will enable the face detection for that camera. Now, when you hit OK and it brings you back to this screen, obviously you would want to make sure to repeat the process with any other cameras that you want to do facial recognition on. But a couple other things that you'll want to do in here as well is right here under setting, tick this record box, just simply tick it. And then also right here next to face detection, the arrow over button. You'll want to click on that. And this is where you can actually go in and start to associate your input output box with the facial recognition activity. So what you do is right here, you would tick the local FR button. And from the drop-down menu, you kind of want to start to think about how you want to utilize the facial recognition. Authorized would be using it to do things like unlock doors. Okay, if you wanted to set up a list of users who those are maybe employees or residents of an area, and they are going to be granted access and be able to trigger doors to unlock, you'd start to think about those people as authorized people. And later on, when I show how to enroll people in the database, you'll see how you can assign someone to the authorized or unauthorized group, or even create a new group. So again, authorized would be people that you want to maybe trigger doors to unlock. But for today's demo, I've been talking about like retail stores and being able to trigger a IO device, like a siren or a strobe light, and get alerted if that person shows up. So that's more of what I would consider an unauthorized person. So we're going to create a rule where we click on unauthorized right here. And down below under IO, you can simply tick that and you can choose your IO module. So we've only added one input output box to this system. That would be considered module 1. And then right here on the drop down, you can choose which pin on the IO that you want to trigger. Okay, so just obviously look at your IO box and see where you're wiring up that siren and strobe light on the output section, and then you would choose the pin accordingly. We do have up to 16 port IO boxes, which is why you see anywhere from 1 to 16 on the pin section here. So again, choose the one that's relevant to where you wire up that output device. As a side note, in this same section, you can also hit invoke alarm if you want. And what this would do would be to play a audible sound through the VMS software. So if you have someone that is sitting at the VMS and monitoring in real time, and you have a set of speakers connected to the PC, you could have an audible sound play right there in the PC. And you've got some pre-recorded messages that are listed here. And you could also click user define and upload your own audio clip if you would like. Lastly, there is the ability to set up email notifications. I'm not going to be going through that on this particular video because there's an additional step that you have to set up the email server. But if you are going to want to do that, you would enable it here, and then you'll need to set up the email server later. Make sure that you hit OK to enable this feature. And then also, whenever you're done with all the cameras that you want to enable facial recognition on, make sure that you hit OK right here. And then the last screen here, and it'll put that into effect for any cameras that you've selected. Now, the last step that we'll want to start doing is building out our facial recognition database and choosing groups and saying who's going to be in what group. There's a couple different ways that this can be done. Up in the top right-hand corner, if we hit Toolbar and then we go into Configure and Face Manager, this is one way that you can do it. And when you go in here, you'll see GVVMS. You can click on it, and over on the left, you've got some different options here. You've got group setting, and you've also got face enrollment. So if we go into group setting, you have the ability right here to create new groups if you want to. For most scenarios that I've seen, the authorized and unauthorized are usually sufficient. But if you have any particular scenario where you want to make a uniquely named group, you can do it in here. You just go in and hit the plus sign and just follow the prompts. For today's video, again, we're going to utilize the unauthorized list, and I'll show how to use that. So right here under face enrollment, we can click on it. This is a list of all of the people that have been enrolled into our system. And on this screen, you can add in a new user if you want. Typically, you would do it here in this section if you have a picture of that person. That could be a picture, a mugshot. It could be previous surveillance footage, maybe that you've captured and you saved a snapshot of it. But you'd have the ability right down here on the bottom left to click Add, and then you can put in the name of the user right there, hit OK. And what'll happen is right over here, you can choose what group you want to assign that user to. So maybe you say, okay, Joe is going to be on the unauthorized list. I want to get notified if that person shows up. It even gives you the ability to put a little note here. So maybe some information about why that person is on the unauthorized list. But you can set that up there optionally. Not required, but it is optional. Down here at the bottom, under Add, the little plus icon, this is where you would actually add a photo to that user's profile. So you would click on it, and then you would just navigate within Windows to add that user into your database and associate him with that profile. I don't have my photo on this PC, but you would select a photo, hit open, and then it's going to put that right there. Now, I do have an employee at our office named Mark. He's set up in the system. His photo is already enrolled. I went ahead and added him on the unauthorized list. And then just anytime that you add in a new user, you'll want to make sure that you hit the checkbox down here at the bottom right-hand corner, and then it will go ahead and add that person into the database, and recognition events would start to happen from there. Now, I'm going to just click close right here. I'm not going to save changes because, again, I don't have my photo, but you would hit yes if you really did have the right one and you were actually adding someone into the database. So that's one way that you can add a person in. Some other options are if you have the camera here in live view and you full screen the camera and maybe you see the person right there on the screen, you can hit the snapshot button right down here. And there is a enroll face button on the left, this bottom left-hand corner. You click on it. Right here, you click the green check. This is basically saying like, yes, this is a good photo that I want to use and proceed. And then on this screen right here, wherever the user's face is at, you basically would just draw a box around that area. You're then going to see that person's picture right here. You can leave new enrollment right there checked, or if you're adding another photo of someone that you've added into the database already, you would tick on their name right there, and then it's going to go ahead and associate that photo with them. But otherwise, if you do new enrollment, you would just want to type in the name of the person or whatever profile name you want to give them. And then right here, group. This is again where you want to think about, okay, earlier we set up the unauthorized list where we want to get alerted if an unauthorized person shows up. So this person, we would say, okay, you're going to be an unauthorized person that we're going to add into the database. And then lastly, you would just tick the GBVMS icon right there and hit the green check mark. And once it's done, it's going to say success. That face will then be successfully enrolled into the facial recognition database. Now, once that's done and you started adding in users, over here on the right side of the screen, you should get results of any facial recognition activity. You do actually have the ability to filter this list on the right. If you, in the top right-hand corner, click Filter, you'll see this window come up. And by default, everything in this list is going to be ticked. You can look through the list and see what relevant activity that you would like to display on this list. There's some general system events that you might not necessarily care about seeing in real time, like, for example, motion detection or log in, log out of the system. Maybe you want to filter it down to just facial recognition activities or other types of analytics. You can just simply tick on those analytics that you want right here and hit OK, and it's going to start to filter the results over there. Now, I'm going to go into the playback window as well. And if I go in here, I want to just show how you can quickly run a facial recognition search, since we are talking about the facial recognition category. And this is also another way that you can add a face into the database. So if we click the wrench icon and then we go into Tools and AI Query, you will have a window that comes up here. By default, all cameras are selected, but if you want, you can hit the little pencil icon and it will give you a list of the cameras, and you can say, okay, I just want to search across maybe this camera right here, for example. I'll leave all cameras selected for this demo. You also have time filter next, and this is where you can go in and you can choose a particular date and time range that you want to search. So maybe I'm going to search like 3 days. And then after that, you can go down to the face category and expand it. Make sure you tick the little icon right there, the little slider bar. And what you can do first is just hit query and see what results you get. This will show any faces that have been seen by the system. You can scroll through and you can see if there's a particular subject that you're looking for. And once you have actually found your person of interest that's not been enrolled in the database yet, you'll notice right here there's a little person icon with a plus on it. This allows you to directly enroll that person into the database just by simply clicking that. You can give that person a name. I'll call this subject 1. We'll put them on the unauthorized list, click the GBVMS, and then click enroll. And you can see right here, Face ID successfully created. You'll hit OK. That person is now enrolled in the database. And what's also useful, you'll notice another little person icon with a magnifying glass. This is what we call a cross search button. So if I click it, it will then do a narrowed down search and find more video files associated with that person. And once we've found the clip that we want to review, we can simply double click on it. And now it'll bring in your playback footage right there. And you can either play it back in this smaller window, or you can click View by View Log right here to full screen it. And you have the ability to play back that clip full screen. This has been a demo tutorial video on setting up the facial recognition analytics, as well as creating an I/O scenario to trigger an output device based on facial recognition. For further information on our product line, please check us out at www.geovision.com.tw/US. Thanks a lot for watching.